Mr. Luxon starting to take on some Trumpian policies and try and bring it into New Zealand. Announcements made today about a way for them to get rural people voting for them, which is interesting because I think heavily rural people already do vote for them. But, so are they looking for the rural vote, or are they providing something to their base? Could be either of those. Could be both.
National has made its play for the rural vote with a 19-point plan called Getting Back to Farming. It includes doubling the number of RSE workers, scrapping the requirement to pay migrant workers the median wage of $30 an hour, and banning foreign investors from buying land to turn into carbon farms. It's also promising to cut red tape with a 2-for-1 deal. For every new regulation local and central government want to bring in, they have to scrap 2 existing regulations.
Okay. literally a Trumpian policy. Trump signs a 2-for-1 order to reduce regulations. President Trump on Monday signed an executive order, this is from 2017, executive order that would require agencies to revoke 2 regulations for every new rule they want to issue. The executive order is aimed at dramatically rolling back federal regulations, one of his top campaign promises. So when I say literally, I'm using the term correctly. Mm-hmm. A 2-for-1 rollback is a literal Trumpian play. So the National Party is going, that lunatic in America, that absolute lunatic who was close to killing millions of his own people by not taking COVID seriously, all those things. That guy who turned America into a laughingstock for the world, all that guy there. We should do what he did. I think that would work here. I think that'd be a good idea. Good idea. So let's have a look at the story.
2 existing regulations. And controversially, it would bring back live animal exports. But the policy has infuriated environmentalists who say National's ideas are lazy, bad for our waterways, and a grab bag of one-liners. Here's political reporter Amelia Wade.
This is Donald's dairy farm, and it has some cows. Also, some national politicians promising to get back to farming. E-I-E-I-O.
I have to say it, but Labor has been waging a war on farmers.
Okay, now I'm stopping it there. Labor has been waging a war on farmers. Do you remember when Jacinda Ardern resigned? Right? Federated Farmers President Andrew Hoggard believes the agricultural sector is losing a friend with the shock resignation of Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. He told Rural News that Ardern was one of the more supportive voices that farmers had among cabinet ministers. Many people think that I've had too much to drink during the holidays, but within the cabinet, she supported the ag sector more than anybody else. We may get a new Prime Minister who doesn't share their views. So Federated Farmers President features in the story as well, and he's still talking about these changes are good, but it's really important for us to remember and to know and to acknowledge that Federated Farmers, same person, says the leader of the Labor government for a very long time was a, quote, friend to farmers, a more supportive voice than farmers had among cabinet ministers. So just bringing that in there, I'm not saying that that negates everything Luxon's about to say, but we also want to be truthful and accurate as to who the Labor Prime Minister was for the farming sector, according to Federated Farmers.
By burying them in a heap of red tape.
Red tape the Nats plan to remove.
A 2-for-1 rule for every new agricultural regulation. 2 must be removed.
I think it's just a ridiculous proposal. I'm not sure who came up with that.
Nationals.
Oh, I know who came up with that. I know. It's Donald Trump. Do I get a point? It's Donald Trump. Donald Trump came up with that. I know. Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
Feed bag for farmers also comes with redefining wetlands, amending stock exclusion rules, that's fencing waterways, and that pushback blanket incoming winter grazing rules that restrict stock feeding on small areas. Rules brought in because some farmers were caught putting animal welfare at risk.
The catchment by catchment approach is better. So where we're standing today, the rules will be different because this is a clay soil and actually in winter probably muddier.
Sorry, a catchment by catchment solution would be better. Don't know about you, Chewy, but to me, that sounds like bureaucracy. Because if you now have to check out every space individually and make individual rules for that space, with his finger up, that sounds like that's going to take a lot of man and woman power. That sounds like bureaucrats to me. What about you?
Sounds like a whole bunch of fucking loopholes to me.
Then up north we were going where the soil is free of draining.
So at a high level, reasonably happy with what we've seen here. It's been issues that we've been concerned about for a number of years now.
National would also like to see the return of live animal exports, a controversial industry which was worth about $340 million to New Zealand, 0.2% of our primary sector exports. But it was banned after a livestock ship sank in 2020, killing 41 crew members, including Kiwis, and about 6,000 animals. Here, National's actually proposing more red tape.
I can assure New Zealanders that these animals are treated to the absolute highest level of welfare standards that we can expect.
Hey, did you get that? Did you get the little addendum at the end?
That we can expect. and I tell you what. I'm
sorry, I want to play it again. God. So this is the animals can expect, right, the highest care. Not just the highest care, there's a little addendum at the end there. Let's just listen to it again.
Here, National's actually proposing more red tape.
I can assure New Zealanders that these animals are treated to the absolute highest level of welfare standards that we can expect.
There is no way of...
Can I just say, as someone that grew up in Timaru, where a lot of this live exporting was done for many, many years.
Yep.
What she's talking about there is a floating concentration camp for animals.
Yep.
It is probably one of the most disgusting practices that this country has profited off. It's horrible. They put pregnant animals on those things and they accept that a portion of the shipment will die because cows are not meant to be on a multi-deck ship for weeks at a time.
Doing this.
Yeah. It's barbaric, and people have campaigned on that for ages. Once again, it's National going for the sugar hit, the dollar value. They're not seeing the bigger picture that if we have better reputation, then our products go up in value in the eyes of other markets.
Yeah, and I think that's a point that the opposition, or not the opposition, the opposition to this, the government and the Greens are going to make.
Of making live animal export by sea humane, and there's no way of controlling what happens to those animals when they get to the end destinations.
Greenpeace and the Green Party are worried what the Take Two for One rule deal would do to waterway regulations.
It's a grab bag of one-liners, and it just shows why National shouldn't be in government.
New Zealand doesn't need more rules, it needs better regulation based on fewer rules.
The Agriculture Minister says the government's actually been regulating farmers for their own survival because international markets are increasingly wanting sustainable supply chains.
If National was to ever get in power and implement these policies, it would set us back.
And we're going to continue to support our farmers and the sector, and we're also going to continue to protect the environment.
An environment which has now become an election battleground.
Kia ora, Amelia. So how's this policy package going to go down with voters, do you think?
Mike, today's policy package was no play for the votes of climate warriors. Instead, it was a pitch to the rural voters who feel that they've been buried in change and paperwork. National also says its plan to get New Zealand out of a recession would be to grow New Zealand's biggest export sector, agriculture, but that's at loggerheads with environmentalists who say growing New Zealand's biggest polluters would only take us backwards. There was also a bit of, but wait, there's more from the Blue team today. They're yet to announce their plan on how they would tackle farmers for the emissions of their animals, which is the most contentious politics in farming. So today, giving farmers what they will like to hear and leaving what they perhaps won't to another day.
There you go. So there's the story, and we have got some more to share about this with some more details, Sherry. But your initial thoughts? We've got the Luxon calling from
so much there.
I know Luxon calling from Trump's playbook, the live animal export. This pitch, they even said they're pitching for the rural people. The people they're pitching to, this is they're preaching to the choir, because if they're not going to get the environmentalist votes for them anyway. So it is really just this is who we are.
The worst parts of the farming sector. Yeah. I mean, we need more RSE workers, but you don't have to pay them as well.
Yeah.
Cool. We've talked on the show before about the treatment of RSE workers. They should be valued. They're certainly not. And to remove any restrictions of paying them correctly we might as well roll back to the 1800s and start blackbirding again so we can get cheap kiwi fruit on the go. Like, that's mental. Removing regulations around fencing off wetlands. Now, all the good farmers out there have already worked it out. That's a good thing. They start replanting their wetlands because it's barely productive land anyway, and then they get benefits of making their properties more climate resilient. The smart ones have worked it out. The knuckle draggers are going, I don't like it, and they're talking to their national MPs. And then live animal exports are a stain on this country. Like, again, this is national looking over their shoulder for the good ideas from the past and the absolutely shockingly terrible ideas from overseas.
Well, can we say, therefore, we just talked about Trump's playbook around the 2-for-1. This is MAGA. Yeah. This is Manza. Make New Zealand great again. Manza. Because it's looking back, as you say, to try and, in my day, we could stick, what do you mean cows? You can stick them on a boat and send them over there. I get another $1 a kilo for them. Why wouldn't we do that? I can do that.
If you wanted to get rid of bad legislation, why not? Why wouldn't you just say that? Why wouldn't you say we're going to go through the legislation that affects our farming voters and get out the ones that don't work? Just say that.
Yeah. By
saying for every new regulation, we're going to get rid of 2, that's a slogan. That's not a policy. And at no point did he give us really any idea of what sort of legislations he's talking about. We've come off over a decade now of talking about how badly our water quality has gone downhill. We got our water table is full of cancer-causing nitrates that we're only just now beginning to study and understand, and that's going to affect their rural voters. They're the ones that are going to get cancer from their bore water. But they're not interested in that. It's the sugar hit. It's cashing in on the groundswell crowd, the angry farmers that don't want change.
Yep.
I was just thinking, not good for this country.
We could actually do MAGA, but there's 2 problems though, because it would be make Aotearoa great again, but the people who would adhere to it would never say Aotearoa. So there's a bit of a juxtaposition there. Let's just have a look. Let's have a look what was reported on One News as well. This is about Eugenie Sage. Sage said the latter is the 2-for-1 rule. Every new regulation addressed 2 existing ones. The latter would result in changes to environmental regulations, which was designed to protect water quality. It's ideological nonsense. That's a popular slogan. She said that would mean New Zealand would be stuck with even dirtier rivers. The Green Party, non-governmental organisations and other groups had campaigned for decades to get stock out of waterways, she said. Yet what a national targeting, rolling that back. What does that mean? More stock defecating in waterways. We've already got a 45% of the length of New Zealand rivers which aren't swimmable because of the Campylobacter risk. That would worsen that. However, said the Greens were really pleased National recognised the need for residence pathways for migrant workers, thought that they needed more protection from exploitation. We want Labor to come on board with that. You can't allow the agricultural industry to exploit them as cheap labour. She said the ban on animal live exports, which comes into effect this month, was long overdue. It's 0.2% of export revenue since 2015. It damages our reputation as well as risking harm to the individual animals. Even with the best intent, stuff happens. I think this came into case, I saw it perhaps on another clip, where there was a boat that went down with live animal. Well, 600 animals died and something like 40?
6,000.
Oh, sorry, 6,000. And something like 40 people, including Kiwis. So, and that was like the catalyst or the thing. Sorry about that, 6,000. I'm just remembering my defecating brain. It's only 2% of revenue, a damage to our reputation, risking harm to the animals. Even with the best intent, stuff happens. We think our reputation and welfare of animals will come above a very small revenue that's gained from these shipments. So there's the overall story for you. National's been kind of crowing a little bit that they've put out like 4 policies in 6 weeks. Thank you, David. David just confirmed me that 6,000, my bad. I just kind of hope they keep doing it. I do. I just hope that these things keep coming, because I think what this is going to do is be really attractive to a really small group of people. And most sane people, like our conversation last night about Bill Maher, right? The old school lefty is now a centrist. I think if you spoke to most of New Zealand about live animal exports, most of New Zealanders would not be on board with that. I think most of New Zealanders would see it as cruel and inhumane. So I'm like, yeah, keep coming, National. Keep bringing up those old school hits, and next we'll be talking about abortion laws, and next we'll be talking about, it's like, cool, keep it coming. Yeah. It's not smart politics. Even though I say often the right tends to play politics better than the left at the moment, I think it feels like maybe they're being run by the water boy. Maybe that's what's going on here.